Good morning and welcome back to the Thought of the Day. This week we are continuing to look at Jesus in the Old Testament, and today we are going to be drawing some parallels between Jesus and Abraham and Isaac. So we're going to be reading from Genesis chapter 22, and we're going to start at verse 2. Then God said, "Take your son, your only son whom you love, Isaac, and go to the region of Moriah. Sacrifice him there as a burnt offering on a mountain I will show you." Early the next morning, Abraham got up and loaded his donkey. He took with him 2 of his servants and his own son, Isaac. Now, this seems like an outlandish request for God to make to sacrifice his one and only son, this son that they have been waiting for so long, this promised son that God has given them, for God to then ask Abraham to give him up as a sacrifice. But actually we know that this is no more than God is prepared to do himself and will do himself. We read in John 3:16, "For God so loved the world that he gave his one and only son." It's also interesting, the region of Moriah that Abraham is told to go to will eventually become the region where Jerusalem is built. And they ride there on a donkey, just the same as Jesus enters Jerusalem on a donkey and then will go up a hill to take his place on the cross at the end of his ministry. Speaking of which, let's jump down to verse 6. It says, "Abraham took the wood for the burnt offering and placed it on his son Isaac, and he himself carried the fire and the knife. As the 2 of them went on together, Isaac spoke up and said to his father Abraham, 'Father.' 'Yes, my son,' Abraham replied. 'The fire and wood are here,' Isaac said, 'but where is the lamb for the burnt offering?' Abraham answered, 'God himself will provide the lamb for the burnt offering, my son.' And the 2 of them went on together." Isaac carries the wood that he is going to be sacrificed on. In just the same way, Jesus carried his cross that he would be sacrificed on. And as Isaac asks, "Where is the lamb?" Abraham says, "God will provide." And then when we come to Jesus' time, God provides the lamb to be sacrificed for all of us. Abraham was prepared to do this, to have a relationship with God. And obviously, as we know, as we read forward, so in verse 10, "Then he reached out his hand and took the knife to slay his son. But the angel of the Lord called out to him from heaven, 'Abraham, Abraham.' 'Here I am,' he replied. 'Do not lay a hand on the boy,' he said. 'Do not do anything to him. Now I know that you fear God, because you have not withheld from me your son, your only son.'" So Abraham was willing to do it. He didn't have to go through with it in the end, but the intention was there. He was committed to do it so that he could continue his relationship with God. In the future, God would go through with the sacrifice of his own son in order to have a relationship with us. God sets the scene, gives some clues in the story of Abraham and Isaac as to what he will eventually do with his own son, Jesus. God knew exactly what it would cost. He knew exactly what we would cost, but he did it anyway. And we can see how much devotion it would have taken from this story of Abraham and Isaac. And so, as we come to the end of this story, verse 13, "Abraham looked up, and there in a thicket he saw a ram caught by its horns. He went over and took the ram and sacrificed it as a burnt offering instead of his son. So Abraham called that place, 'The Lord will provide.' And to this day it is said, 'On the mountain of the Lord it will be provided.'" The ram was sacrificed instead of Isaac, just as Jesus is sacrificed instead of us for our wrongdoings. A little bit of Jesus in the Old Testament.